My beloved child, let your mind grow still, like a lake whose ripples cease, so it may mirror the sky. I come to you today not to recall the past as a heavy judgment, but to draw you into a deeper conversation, where the light of truth can illuminate those hidden places you have been afraid to face. There are moments that seem harmless, yet they become turning points that shape the direction of an entire journey. You have known such moments, times when I was present, whispering softly, hoping for your response, but you did not recognize it, and you let it pass by. Today, I want you to return to that moment, not to drown in regret, but to gain a clearer vision of the whole picture, that every word I speak carries purpose. And when you set it aside, you lose more than an action, you lose a part of the design I have woven for you. Before my eyes, your life is like a spool of fine golden thread, each strand placed with intention. Every time you hear and obey my voice, a thread is woven into the eternal tapestry, contributing to a masterpiece that cannot be replicated. But when you neglect it, empty spaces remain. It is like a servant entrusted to sow seed. If he misses his chance, the harvest will still come, yet his joy of partaking will not be complete. Remember what is written in Ecclesiastes 1:16, sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. Immediate obedience, even in the smallest thing, always bears fruit beyond your imagination. There have been times when I urged you to hold your tongue before words slipped out, for I foresaw the impact you could not yet perceive. Words, even without malice, can pierce like arrows if spoken in a vulnerable moment. You may have thought the other person strong enough to endure, but I, who searched the heart, knew the fragile places within. When you ignored that gentle warning, the adversary quickly seized the breach to sow discord. Do you see, this is not merely about fleeting emotions. It is part of a spiritual battle where every word and deed becomes a weapon, either for the light or for the darkness. I do not condemn you, for I know your heart longs for good, but I desire you to grow into wisdom, to see that good intentions are not enough without the insight that only my Spirit provides. I also remember another time when I called you to show kindness to someone carrying a hidden burden. You felt the prompting clearly, like warm water flowing through your heart, but reason intervened, reminding you of inconvenience, or persuading you that surely another would step in. You trusted that thought and let the moment slip away. My child, there are acts I assign to you alone, because the way you would carry them reveals a facet of my love that no one else could express in the same way. Your hesitation did not undo my plan, but it stole from you the joy of partnering in heaven's work. When I stir your heart, it is never random whim. It is an invitation to step into a miracle unfolding. My child, picture the potter at his wheel. Every touch, every movement of his hand matters in shaping the vessel. If his hand hesitates for a moment, the wheel loses rhythm, and the form changes from what was intended. I am that potter, and you are the precious vessel I am shaping. Each time you respond to my voice, your form grows more refined. But when you delay, I continue shaping, yet the opportunity for a line of beauty in that instant is lost. That is why I teach you the value of prompt obedience. It shapes not only the outcome, but your very soul. What I speak to you today is not to add weight to your shoulders, but to open before you a wider horizon. When you begin to treasure every whisper from me, you will realize that no action is small, no moment meaningless. All is used by me to weave a glorious story. Timely obedience is your way of declaring that you fully trust the wisdom of your Creator. And I, who loved you before you were formed, will never lead you down a path without purpose. Hold fast to this promise in your heart, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 2:9-11. My dear child, when I speak to you about immediate obedience, I am not merely referring to outward actions, but to the readiness of your heart. Many people do the right thing yet delay, and that hesitation robs the act of its beauty. True obedience is not measured only by results, but also by timing. When my voice resounds, that is the perfect moment for you to respond, not earlier, not later, but at once. For every moment in your life has been arranged by me like links in a chain, and one missed link can cause the whole chain to fall apart. Remember, the enemy always seeks to slip into the gap between my word and your response. If that time is prolonged, he will plant seeds of doubt, fear, or confusion to weaken your resolve. That is why the scripture declares in Hebrews 3:1-5, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." To not harden your heart does not only mean refusing rebellion, but also resisting the slowness and hesitation that arise when you hear my call. Every time you respond without delay, you close the door to distraction and open wide the way for miracles. I know there are times when your hesitation is not born out of a lack of love for me, but from your desire to be certain you are not mistaken. You fear that acting too quickly might bring unwanted consequences. But my child, my guidance is never in error. When I place something in your heart, it is not a fleeting thought that comes and goes, but a heavenly invitation for you to step into a flow already prepared. If you wait until every factor is clear and favorable, you may miss the wonders that only unfold when you walk by faith. There are assignments I entrust to you that only you were created to fulfill. If you choose not to act, I can raise up another, but they will never fully replace the part uniquely designed for you. Just as in a symphony, each instrument has its appointed moment to play. If one falls silent, the music continues, but the fullness of beauty is lost. You are that instrument, and the moment you play in time is when I release the perfect sound I intended for the world. I also want you to realize that immediate obedience not only brings outward results, but transforms you inwardly. Each time you act upon my word, your heart is trained to become more sensitive. Just as muscles grow stronger with repeated use, so your spirit becomes steadier and more resilient with each response. Obedience is not a one-time act, but a way of life, shaping you into someone I can trust with greater missions. Do you remember Peter, when I told him to cast his net again after a night of catching nothing? He could have refused out of weariness and his own experience. Yet he said, "Because you say so, I will let down the nets." In that very moment, his obedience opened the way for a miracle, so many fish that the nets nearly broke. Had he delayed or declined, he would have missed the display of power. In the same way, every time you obey my voice without delay, for you position yourself to witness what human reason cannot fathom. Yet I also know that discerning my voice is not always simple amidst the noise of life. That is why I call you to nurture intimacy with me. As our relationship deepens, You will recognize my voice more clearly, like a child who knows his father's tone in the midst of a crowd. Then, obedience will cease to feel like a burden and become the natural response of a trusting heart. Do not underestimate what may seem like small acts. A timely word of encouragement, a quiet act of service unnoticed by others, or a moment of silence instead of a sharp reply. All of these can change a day, a season, even a life. I have seen countless people lifted by such simple gestures, and I desire to use you as a vessel for the same, not because of your own strength, but because I long to reveal my power through your weakness. Recall the times when you obeyed immediately and witnessed extraordinary outcomes. Those memories are not meant to stir pride, but to remind you of my faithfulness, that every word I speak carries within it the power to fulfill. If I have led you to victory before, I will do so again as you continue to walk in obedience. My beloved child, today I invite you to renew your commitment to instant obedience, not because I need you to complete my plan, but because I want you to taste the joy and glory of walking with your God. I want you to see that each act of obedience is a stone laid on the path that brings you closer to the eternal purpose I have prepared. And when you live in this way, you will no longer fear missing out, for you will know you are walking in step with heaven itself. My child, I want you to understand that obedience is not a harsh demand to test your loyalty, but the safest path for you to walk in the midst of a turbulent world. Each time you respond to my voice, you are stepping into a realm covered by my protection and guidance. This does not mean that you will never face challenges, but it assures you that you will never face them alone. Obedience places you in the position where my provision, my keeping, and my power can operate most fully. It is in that very place where what once seemed impossible becomes possible, not because of your strength, but because you are exactly where I desire you to be. I have seen many begin well but lose their rhythm because they did not maintain the habit of listening and following. They started with faith and zeal, but when obstacles arose, or when my voice required something beyond their comfort, they gradually retreated. Let this be a warning to you. My child, obedience is not a one-time act, but a continual rhythm of life. Just as a soldier does not obey only on the first day of training, you too must keep your ears and heart ready each day and each hour. One moment of neglect may not destroy the whole journey, but it can open the door for doubt and disobedience to creep in. There will be times when I lead you into places you have never experienced before. The first step may make you anxious, for you do not know what lies ahead. Yet it is within this uncertainty that your faith is shaped and strengthened. Like Abraham, when I told him to leave his homeland for a place I would show him, he had no map, no clear itinerary, and yet he obeyed. His obedience became the foundation of a promise that stretched through generations. So it is with you. Each step of obedience you take not only affects the present, but echoes into the future, touching people you may never meet and creating eternal impact in their lives. Know, this obedience is also a mirror, reflecting love. You follow my voice not merely out of fear of the consequences of refusing, but because you love me and believe that every intention I have for you is good. Perfect love casts out fear, and obedience, born from love, is always fuller than obedience forced by fear. When you obey because of love, you will discover joy even when the act requires sacrifice. Love itself makes the burden light and enables you to continue even when the outcome is not yet visible. Let me tell you a secret. There will be times when obedience does not yield visible results right away. You may do what is right and yet see no immediate change. Do not let this cause you to doubt. Just as a seed works unseen beneath the soil before it breaks through the ground, the work of obedience often takes place quietly before it manifests. The fact that you cannot see it does not mean nothing is happening. When I speak, my word does not return empty, but it accomplishes what I have purposed. Believe that the seeds you sow in obedience will bear fruit in the appointed season. I know there have been times when you felt you missed opportunities because of hesitation or fear. You may think it is too late to turn back. But remember, my grace is sufficient to restore. I can open a new door, create another pathway, and even turn mistakes into stepping stones for growth. Genuine repentance always brings you back to the place of obedience. And from there I can continue my work in your life. No failure is too great for me to redeem, as long as you are willing to place it into my hands. Let your mind be renewed so that obedience becomes a natural reflex, not a burdensome decision. This flows from continually spending time in my presence, learning my word, and allowing my spirit to lead you. When you do this, obedience will no longer feel like a list of obligations, but like a journey of companionship with me, a journey you long for rather than a weight to bear. And day by day, you will come to know the joy of walking in the rhythm of heaven. My beloved child, never forget that the enemy will not waste a chance to make you question the value of obedience. He may whisper that what you do is meaningless, unnoticed, or a waste of time. But I see everything you do for me, even the smallest act. In Matthew 10:42, I declared, "And if anyone gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones because he is my disciple, truly I tell you, he will never lose his reward." No act of obedience is ever wasted in my sight, and not a single tear shed for me is ever forgotten. My child, I am inviting you to step into a new season where obedience is not merely a reaction to my voice, but a posture of active preparation. Keep your heart ready, like a servant standing at the door, attentive to every sound of the master, prepared to open the door the very moment he knocks. When you live with that posture, you will always be in the right place at the right time to participate in the wonders I am bringing forth. Such readiness will not only guard you from being caught off guard, but will also position you to partner with me in the decisive moments of your life story. As I conclude this part, I want you to etch deeply into your heart that immediate obedience is the key that unlocks both the things you have longed for and the blessings you never imagined. It keeps you aligned with the rhythm of heaven, shields you from unseen snares, and prepares you for greater assignments. Choose to hear and respond the moment I speak, for in that very instant, both heaven and earth are already set in motion to fulfill my good will for you. When you live in this way, you will not only experience peace, but you will also become a bearer of that peace to others. And that is one of the highest honors I bestow upon you, my beloved. Having revealed to you the value and power of immediate obedience, I now want you to recognize another reality. The enemy of your soul also understands its importance. He knows that every action you take under my direction dismantles his schemes. Therefore, he will persist in trying to hinder, delay, or distort my voice in your mind. He does not always attack with noise or obvious temptation. Sometimes he only needs to plant a whisper of doubt, à toute la question, or a seemingly reasonable thought that causes hesitation. Remember Eve in the Garden of Eden. The enemy did not outright command her to rebel against God. He simply asked, "Did God really say?" That single seed of doubt was enough to open the door to disobedience. And this is the same strategy he continues to use today. He knows that if he can delay your response to my voice, he gains an opportunity to alter your direction. That is why I want you to remain alert, not only to recognize my voice, but also to discern the strange voices trying to intrude. I have already given you a mighty weapon against this strategy, my word. When you hide my word in your heart, you have a clear standard by which to test every voice you hear. My word is a lamp to your feet and a light to your path. Psalm 119:105. It not only illuminates the way ahead, but it also exposes the traps the enemy sets along the path. When you know my word, you can easily distinguish between my voice and deception. Yet, the enemy knows this as well. That is why he will try to keep you away from my word, or at best, keep you at a level of knowledge without application. My child, knowledge without obedience carries no power. It is like a soldier holding a sword but never drawing it. You will not overcome if my word remains only in your memory without becoming action. Immediate obedience is the evidence that you truly trust my word and allow it to flow through you. I know there will be moments in your life when you feel uncertain about whether you are hearing my voice. In such times, the enemy will intensify pressure, urging you to make decisions hastily out of fear or emotion. But remember this, my voice always carries peace. Even when it calls you beyond your comfort zone, that peace is not a superficial ease, but a deep assurance that you are in my will. If a prompting leaves you confused, rushed, or forced, take a step back, seek me in prayer, and allow my word to confirm. Consider the story of Samuel. As a boy, he heard my call yet mistook it for Eli's voice. Only when Eli guided him did he learn to respond. Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. Do you see? My child, how learning to recognize my voice is a process. It grows clearer as you practice. Do not be discouraged if at first you do not discern it perfectly. I will patiently teach you. As long as you are willing to listen, my beloved, beyond discerning my voice, you must also be aware of the enemy's strategy of delay. One of his common tactics is to convince you that your action is unnecessary or insignificant. He whispers, "Everyone else is doing it. Your part doesn't matter." But I tell you the truth, your presence and your obedience hold unique significance. I created you as one of a kind, and in certain moments, only you can reveal my love and wisdom in that particular way. If you remain silent or step back, a portion of my plan will lack the fullness I intended. The enemy also delights in using busyness to make you overlook my voice. He knows that if your mind is always filled with tasks, noise, and pressure, you will struggle to recognize my gentle whispers. That is why I call you to learn how to pause, even in the busiest of days. This is not a waste of time, but a way to renew your mind and keep your ears attentive. When you set aside time for me, you are strengthening your spiritual defenses, making it harder for the enemy to break through. You must also understand that obedience will not always be understood or supported by others. There will be times when people think you are acting irrationally or going against common sense. But remember, you are not living to please people, but to please me. Noah built the ark when the skies were clear, and he was mocked. Yet his obedience saved his family and became a testimony of my faithfulness. In the same way, there will be times when you must choose to stand alone in order to stand rightly. My child, when you face such obstacles, remember that I have not abandoned you. I have given you the Holy Spirit to remind, to guide, and to strengthen you. He will bring back to mind the words I have spoken, illuminate the scriptures for you, and give you the courage to walk in truth. This is why I want you to learn to stay sensitive to His leading every day, not only in great decisions, but also in the smallest actions. When you live in spiritual vigilance, you will find that the enemy can no longer so easily deceive or delay you. You will recognize his schemes from the very beginning and respond with my word and with instant obedience. This will not only protect you, but also make you an influence, an example to others of what it means to live by the call of heaven. And when many live this way together, the power of my kingdom spreads, breaking chains of deception and disobedience. Beloved, I invite you into a new season of awakening. Do not let the enemy steal the moment I have appointed for you. Train yourself to respond to my voice the instant you hear it, and also to discern and reject voices that are not from me. When you keep yourself in this discipline, you will find your life becoming freer, more peaceful, and more fruitful for my kingdom. And above all, you will know that you are moving in the rhythm of heaven, where nothing can shake you from the eternal purpose I have set for you. My child, I want you to grasp a deeper truth. Instant obedience not only breaks the enemy's strategy of delay, but also becomes the very key that unlocks freedom in your spirit. Many believe that obedience robs them of freedom, but in reality, obedience leads you into true freedom. For when you follow my voice, you are no longer bound by fears, lies, or destructive habits that have held you captive for so long. Obedience shatters chains and opens up new space for you to breathe in the peace that the world cannot give. Remember my words in John 8:3-2. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Truth is not just an idea, it is my living voice guiding you step by step. When you listen and obey, you are allowing that truth to operate in your life. And every step of obedience is a step out of darkness into light. You do not merely know about freedom, you experience it. And this freedom does not depend on circumstances, but flows from walking in my will. Still, you must understand that the road to this freedom is not always easy. At times, I will call you to let go of things you have held onto for a long time, habits, relationships, even dreams you once thought were beautiful. It may cause you pain or confusion, but if I speak, it is because I see that those things are keeping you from greater blessing. I see the whole picture, while you see only a fragment. If you trust that I am loving and wise, you will believe that every call I give leads to good. Even if you cannot see it immediately, there will be times I ask you to do things that bring no visible benefit to yourself. But to others, you may wonder, why must I sacrifice when the other person shows no response or change? But child, your obedience is not only about immediate results, it is part of a greater spiritual flow. When you follow my voice, you are planting seeds in the field I oversee, and I know the appointed time for them to grow. You do not need to see the harvest now. You only need to trust that the seed is resting in the hands of the one who makes all things flourish. I also want you to recognize that your obedience always produces an impact far beyond what you can see. A gentle word spoken when I prompt you may become the only source of comfort for a soul drowning in despair. A small act of kindness may be the very answer to someone's desperate prayer, and sometimes a well-timed silence may prevent a conflict from breaking into flames. You may not perceive the layers of influence in these moments, but I see them, and I take note of them all. Remember the story of the Good Samaritan. He did not plan to meet the wounded man on the roadside. Yet when the opportunity came, he did not hesitate. His immediate obedience saved a life and left behind an example of love that transcended cultural boundaries. If he had walked past like the others, the story would never have existed to instruct generations afterward. In the same way, your moments of obedience today may become a spiritual legacy for people you never imagined would be touched. My beloved, to live in complete obedience, you must learn to release control. This is one of the hardest lessons, for human nature longs to know the outcome and to remain in charge. Yet obedience requires that you trust I know better, and that I will never lead you into destruction. That is why Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 5:7, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." You cannot cling to control and walk in faith at the same time. Once I speak, you must let go and allow me to lead. I know there are times you obey and feel nothing remarkable, and you question whether you truly heard me. Remember that feelings are not the measure of obedience. There will be times when you follow my voice and see no immediate change. Yet you are still in step with heaven's rhythm. Your obedience may be a vital link in the chain of my greater plan. That link may not shine outwardly, but it forms the foundation upon which other links connect. Be watchful, child, against another subtle scheme of the enemy to make you believe that small steps do not matter. He will whisper that only great actions bring true impact, but I tell you, in my kingdom, faithfulness in the little is the measure by which I entrust the greater. As I declared in Luke 1:6-10, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Do not despise the small opportunities to obey, for they are the very training ground for greater missions. I call you to walk each day with a heart wide open, ready to hear and to respond. Begin with the simple things: a prayer whispered for someone when I remind you, a message of encouragement when I nudge you, a small act of kindness when you sense my prompting. When you practice these consistently, obedience becomes a habit, and that habit keeps you in the freedom I have given. Step. Each word, each action weaves into the story I am writing over your life, and that story will reveal my kindness, my power, and my faithfulness to the world around you. Beloved, I want you to understand that obedience is not only a reaction to my voice, but also the active preparation of the heart. A heart that is ready will perceive the opportunity to act even when my direction is not thunderously clear. This is the posture of a faithful servant who waits by the door, listening for the master's call. When your heart remains in readiness, you will not be caught off guard when the moment arrives, and you will step forward with confidence, knowing I am with you. This requires you to cultivate a life of continual prayer. Prayer is not only about set times in the day, but about keeping your mind in constant communion with me. When you keep the channel open, you will more easily perceive the subtle directions others might overlook. As it is written in Colossians 4:2, devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful. Spiritual alertness is the ability to recognize and seize heaven's timing. Do not think, child, that obedience is reserved only for great occasions. In truth, it is the quick responses in the small matters that train you for larger callings. One who is unwilling to obey in the little will struggle to be faithful when facing decisions of eternal weight. That is why I use the simple, everyday things to train you. When you learn to respond promptly to the gentle whisper of my spirit, whether in changing an attitude, holding back a word, or helping someone in need, you are laying a firm foundation for the greater calling I have already prepared for you. I also want you to understand that active obedience is not an act of thoughtlessness. It is not about chasing every idea that passes through your mind, but rather the reflection of a heart shaped by my word. When my word holds the central place within you, every proactive step you take will be guided by truth. This is why studying and meditating on my word each day is essential. You cannot discern what is truly my prompting unless you know the sound of my voice. Remember, proactive preparation also involves the training of faith. Faith is not something to be used only when crisis strikes. It must be nourished daily by believing in what I have spoken, even when it has not yet come to pass. When you live in this faith, obedience becomes easier, because you know that I am faithful and never fail to keep my promises. Just as the Israelites were commanded to gather manna every morning, you too must rise each day to seek and follow my instructions in order to sustain your spiritual strength. My child, beware of complacency. After a few acts of obedience that have brought good results, you may fall into the trap of thinking you are mature enough to decide on your own without listening for every whisper. But complacency is a dangerous gap. It causes you to ignore subtle nudges and gradually creates distance between us. Keep yourself humble, and always remember that every victory comes from walking in step with me, not from your own ability. There will be times when proactive obedience will lead you to places you never expected. I may bring you into contact with people you never thought you would meet, or open doors to opportunities you never asked for. These moments are not random, but the result of your readiness to go whenever I send you. Recall the words in Isaiah 6:8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I. Send me." When you carry that posture, you will become a useful vessel in my hand, prepared for any assignment. Proactive obedience also spares you from many snares. When you are consistently seeking chances to follow my will, you are less likely to get entangled in meaningless activities or impulsive decisions. Instead of reacting to emotions or the pressures of others, you will act from my guidance. This not only protects you from mistakes, but also saves your time and energy, allowing you to invest in what has eternal value. I know there will be moments when you grow weary or feel as though you have done much without seeing results. But my child, do not let this cause you to falter. As it is written in Galatians 6:9, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Obedience is never wasted, and the harvest will come in my appointed season. You only need to persevere and keep your heart expectant. So, step into each day with the readiness of a soldier prepared to march at the command. Train your ear to recognize my voice and your heart to respond instantly. Do not wait for emergencies to seek my direction. Let obedience become the very rhythm of your life. When you live this way, you will not only avoid the traps of the enemy, but also witness both small and great miracles around you. For you have made yourself ready for me to work through you. I want you to engrave this truth in your heart. Proactive obedience is a privilege, not a burden. It gives you the opportunity to be part of the great story I am writing, and it transforms each day into a meaningful journey. When you intentionally seek opportunities to align with my will, you are showing your love and trust in the clearest way. And I, who see what is done in secret, will reward you not only with temporary blessings, but with eternal rewards that no one can ever take away. My beloved child, immediate obedience is a powerful beginning, but sustaining it throughout the journey is the true test. For there are things I call you to do not just once and never again, but as an ongoing process that demands perseverance amid shifting circumstances and surrounding pressures. Many start with zeal but falter when trials arise or patience wears thin. They assume one act of obedience is enough. But, my child, true obedience is more like a long-distance race than a sprint. It requires endurance, steadfastness, and unwavering focus on the destination rather than fleeting emotions. Just as a farmer sows seed and continues watering and tending even before any sprouts appear, you too must keep nurturing what I have entrusted, even when results remain unseen. Perseverance in obedience also means refusing to let circumstances dictate your level of commitment. When all is well, obedience may seem easy, but when obedience costs you something, when opposition comes, or when results are not visible, that is when your heart is truly tested. As it is written in James 1:4, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. You see, enduring obedience not only produces outward fruit, but also shapes your inner being into greater maturity and stability. Do not allow ridicule or misunderstanding from others to make you stumble. Many figures in Scripture faced fierce opposition for obeying me. Jeremiah was thrown into a pit for faithfully delivering my message. Daniel risked his life for choosing prayer to me over bowing to the king. Yet their perseverance in obedience became living testimonies of my power and faithfulness. When you stand firm, you not only preserve your intimacy with me, but also strengthen and encourage those around you who feel weak. Perseverance is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is simply continuing to do what is right, day after day, even when no one notices. It is remaining in prayer even when your petitions seem unanswered. It is loving and forgiving even when your kindness is not reciprocated. It is holding to integrity in your work while others take shortcuts. These may appear small, but before me, they are great victories. I know there will be times when you feel weary, tired of persisting, tired of not seeing results, tired of paying the price without yet glimpsing the reward. But my child, it is precisely in those moments that the true strength of perseverance is forged. This strength does not arise from your own willpower, but from continually returning to me, drawing new strength from my inexhaustible supply. Like a tree planted by streams of water, your roots will grow deeper as you remain near me, and you will stay green even in times of drought. Remember also that persevering in obedience is not merely a personal duty, it is part of the greater spiritual battle. The enemy knows that if he cannot stop you from starting, he will try to make you quit midway. He will use fatigue, disappointment, and distraction to pull you off course. But when you keep going, you are resisting his schemes and declaring that my power is greater than every obstacle. Look again at the life of Jesus when he walked the earth. He obeyed not only in performing miracles or preaching, but all the way to the cross. His perseverance did not merely redeem humanity, but also became the ultimate model for you to follow. As it is written, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, for the joy set before him. Hebrews 1:2. You see, enduring obedience always keeps its eyes fixed on eternal reward, not swayed by temporary trials. My child, I call you not only to begin with strength but to finish with fullness. A race is not measured by how quickly you start, but by whether you reach the finish line. Each day that you walk faithfully in obedience is another step closer to the promise I have given you. Whether you find yourself in a season of ease or in trial, hold firmly to your commitment and know that I am walking beside you, strengthening you, and never abandoning you along the way. When you persevere in obedience, you will experience something wondrous. Your heart will be transformed. Obedience will no longer feel like a burden, but a joy. What once frightened you will now appear only as challenges to overcome. And you will discover that this very journey of endurance has deepened your fellowship with me, shaping you more and more into my likeness each day. I want you to remember that endurance not only enables you to fulfill what I have called you to, but also creates a spiritual legacy for the generations after you. Your faithfulness becomes a seed, sowing an example for your children, your friends, and those within your reach. They will see in you a living testimony that following me to the end is worth every cost. And the reward of such endurance is not only blessing in this life, but eternal glory in my presence. My beloved child, to endure in obedience, you cannot rely solely on your own strength. Your willpower, no matter how strong, has limits. Your emotions, no matter how sincere, shift with circumstances. Your strength, no matter how resilient, will one day run dry. That is why I want you to know that the power to sustain obedience comes only when you lean entirely on me. When you cling to this source of strength, you will stand firm even when storms arise and the noise around you seeks to draw you away. I have given you a gift that no one can take away, my Spirit. He is not only your comforter, but also your source of power and your guide. He brings my words to your remembrance, illuminates truth, and encourages you to keep walking when you feel like stopping. His presence is the assurance that you are never alone in this journey. Like a patient companion, he will walk with you through every stage, from peaceful days to the darkest nights of trial. My child, endurance in obedience also requires you to reorder your priorities. When other pursuits take the place that belongs to me, you will quickly lose direction. Remember, priorities are not measured by what you say, but by where you give your time and attention. If I am the one you love most, then your relationship with me must hold the first place. When priorities are rightly aligned, endurance flows naturally, for you no longer wrestle with competing pulls. Endurance also demands a steadfast heart in the face of pressure from others. There will be times when you are persuaded that your effort is wasted or your path misguided. Some will counsel you to quit because they cannot see the value in what you are doing. But remember, they are not the one who called you. My call upon your life is personal and unique. Just as Nehemiah, when rebuilding the wall, answered those who tried to hinder him, saying, I am doing a great work and cannot come down, Nehemiah 6:3. So too must you stand firm and refuse to let anyone pull you off the path I have set before you. Another key to sustaining endurance is learning to look beyond the present moment. If you fix your eyes only on what is immediately before you, difficulties will appear magnified and weariness will come quickly. But when you lift your gaze toward the eternal purpose, you will see that present troubles are only temporary. As Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians 4:17, for our light and momentary affliction is producing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. Your perseverance will be strengthened when you know what you are striving toward and for whom you are pressing on. My child, to endure, you must also cultivate a heart of gratitude. When you remember my faithfulness, the doors I have opened, and the miracles I have performed, your heart will be stirred to continue. Gratitude becomes the fuel that propels you forward, even when the path ahead looks uncertain. It reminds you that I have never abandoned you in the past, and that I will not abandon you now. Another important strategy is to remain close to those who encourage your faith. No one is called to fight alone. When you surround yourself with people who also live in obedience, you will find strength in moments of weakness and the opportunity to support them when they are in need. This is why I established the body of Christ. The unity within the body is not just an abstract idea, but a tangible source of strength that enables you to endure until the end. My child, I also want you to learn to care for your spirit, your mind, and your body. A person who is exhausted can easily give up, even if they began with good intentions. Learn to recognize when to rest, when to seek stillness before me, and when to renew your strength. Endurance does not come from working without pause, but from living a balanced rhythm of labor and rest in me. I instituted the Sabbath to teach you this principle, because I knew you would need seasons of restoration. Moreover, perseverance requires that you resist the trap of comparison. When you look at the journey of others, you may feel that your progress is too slow or your results too small. But, my child, each one has been given a unique race, and the goal is not to be faster than anyone else, but to be faithful in completing the course I have set for you. Comparison will either discourage you or feed your pride, and both will harm your endurance. Remember that perseverance in obedience never goes unnoticed by me, even if the world does not acknowledge it. I see every tear, every step, every hidden sacrifice you make. As it is written in Hebrews 6:10, for God is not unjust so as to forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. Let this be your assurance that every act of obedience will be remembered by me and rewarded in due time. As you continue to endure, you will find your fellowship with me deepening beyond what you have ever known. You will realize that obedience is not merely a duty to be completed, but a privilege that allows you to step further into the plans and heart of the one who created you. And in that perseverance, you will discover a joy that endures, one that nothing in this world can take away. My beloved, perseverance in obedience does not only enable you to complete what I have entrusted to you, but it also shapes you into a living testimony before the world. With every faithful step you take, those around you will witness a life anchored in faith, unshaken by storms or rumors. They will wonder how you can remain steadfast in a world that is constantly shifting, and the only answer will be this: your foundation is set upon the solid rock, which is me. Endurance is also a spiritual declaration. When you continue to obey, even without visible results, you are proclaiming openly to the enemy that his power cannot force you to quit. You are testifying that your faith is not based on circumstances, but on the faithfulness of the one who called you. Like Job, who said, "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him." Job 1:3-1:5. You affirm that your faith is not shallow or temporary, but a profound bond with the giver of life. My child, persevering in obedience also means being willing to walk through seasons of my silence. There will be times when you do not hear new instructions, do not see immediate miracles, and do not feel my presence in a tangible way. This is not a sign that I have abandoned you, but a moment in which I am training you to trust in what I have already spoken. My silence is never my absence. In such seasons, You must cling to the word you have received. Remain steadfast in obedience, and wait for me to reveal the next step in the proper time. Remember Noah. After he was commanded to build the ark, he labored for many years without receiving new detailed instructions. No one cheered him on. Many even mocked him, but he persevered because he knew that I had spoken, and my word was enough. In the same way, there will be seasons when you must continue the work I assigned without daily confirmation. Your perseverance in such moments will become the very evidence of true faith. Know this perseverance in obedience also carries a refining quality. As you remain faithful over time, impure motives are gradually exposed and removed. You will come to realize that your obedience is no longer driven by the pursuit of reward or the desire for recognition, but by love for me. It is this love that will keep you steadfast, even when no one sees, or when every reward seems delayed. This is the mark of a mature heart, one that no longer seeks personal gain, but longs for the pleasure of the Redeemer. My beloved child, I also want you to understand that perseverance does not mean stubbornly clinging to an old method when I am leading you into something new. Perseverance in obedience means being faithful to principles and to my voice, while remaining flexible in how you walk them out under my guidance. This requires you to be both steadfast and discerning. There are times when I will change the direction to bring you into a greater outcome, and you must be willing to adjust without giving up. Perseverance is not standing still. It is continuing to move forward in the direction I have shown. To nurture this perseverance, continually remind yourself of the promises I have given you. Write them down, declare them aloud, and let them soak into your mind. When you face fatigue or the temptation to quit, these promises will become a strong encouragement. As written in Hebrews 10:36, you need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. Perseverance is not merely endurance, it is endurance rooted in a living hope. I know there will be moments when you feel this journey is too long, but my child, do not forget that I measure time differently than you do. What you call delay, they call perfect timing. Every season I allow you to remain in perseverance has a purpose to strengthen your faith, broaden your vision, and prepare you for greater things. When you look back, you will see that it was these seasons of waiting that made you stronger than any period of ease. My child, I want you to consider the lasting fruit of perseverance. It does not only transform your present circumstances, but it leaves a spiritual legacy for generations to come. Your children, your friends, and those you influence will see a living testimony of faithfulness. They will know that following me to the end is worth it, and they will be encouraged to walk in your footsteps. The reward is not only in what you receive, but also in the spiritual inheritance you leave behind. Beloved one, I assure you that perseverance and obedience is not a burden I place on your shoulders, but a grace I give so that you may live a life filled with purpose and eternal impact. As you stay in step with me, you will experience joy that surpasses trials, peace that surpasses anxieties, and a hope unshaken even as the world shifts. Keep walking, for I go before you. I walk beside you, and I await you at the finish line with open arms. My beloved child, after leading you through the principles of immediate obedience, proactive preparation, and perseverance to the end, I now desire to take you deeper into complete trust. Obedience cannot truly be sustained unless it rests upon absolute trust in me. When you trust, you will be willing to step forward, even without fully understanding the path. When you trust, you will keep moving, even when all outward evidence seems to contradict my word. Complete trust begins with knowing my nature. I am faithful, unchanging, and never break my promises. Every word I speak is firm and will be fulfilled at its appointed time. When you grasp this, your trust will not be shaken by circumstances. Just as a child holding their father's hand does not need to know where he is leading, only that the hand is secure, so too will your trust keep you in peace. Even before you see the destination, my child, trust does not mean you will understand everything immediately. On the contrary, it often begins in the place where you lack enough information to make decisions on your own. That is why Scripture declares in Proverbs 3:5-6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." Trust requires you to release the need for control and allow me to direct every step. Complete trust is also tested over time. No one develops it overnight. Each time you obey my voice and witness a good outcome, your trust is strengthened, yet even when you do not see results. The very experience of my protection and peace in the midst of trials allows your faith to grow. Trust is not merely based on what I do, but on the certainty of who I am. Remember Abraham. He was promised that he would become the father of many nations. Yet he had to wait many years before the promise began to unfold. During that time, he continued to believe. Even though human logic and biology declared it impossible, it was that faith which was credited to him as righteousness. You see, trust is not an illusion. It is a certainty, grounded in the faithfulness of the one who never fails. I know there will be times when you are challenged to trust even as everything around you seems to collapse. You may lose what you treasure, see your plans interrupted, or face closed doors. In those moments, the enemy will whisper that I have forgotten you or abandoned you. But my child, do not believe such lies. I never forsake you. I am at work even when you cannot perceive it. And sometimes I must bring something to an end so that a new beginning one beyond your imagination can unfold. Complete trust also means that you are willing to release your backup plans. Many say they trust me, yet they keep alternative paths in case my plan does not go as they hoped. It is like a man who builds a bridge but is afraid to step on it lest it collapse. My child, to trust means to step forward, believing that I will uphold you. It means holding nothing back for yourself, but fully surrendering to my will. Understand that trust does not make you weak, it makes you strong. When you lay your burdens on me, you are freed to walk lightly. When you no longer carry the weight of managing everything on your own, your mind becomes clear enough to recognize my guidance. It is in your surrender that you are truly lifted up. Remember also that trust is nurtured through intimate relationship. As you spend time with me, listening to my word, conversing with me, and watching how I act in your life, trust will naturally deepen. Just as a close friend becomes more reliable the better you know them, so I desire you to know me so deeply that nothing can cause you to doubt my love and power. My child, I am calling you into a season of deeper trust. Let trust become the foundation of all your decisions and actions. Do not only trust me with the great matters, but also with the smallest details. As you will discover that all things work together for the good of those who love me and are called according to my purpose. And as you walk in that trust, you will experience freedom, peace, and joy that the world cannot give and cannot take away. My beloved, complete trust is not only shown when you are willing to walk in the direction I point, but also when you remain at peace, even before the path becomes clear. This is one of the hardest aspects of faith, to walk through the fog while believing that the sun is still shining, even when the eye cannot see it. Trust means believing in my nature, not depending on the clarity of your circumstances. I know the human heart longs for certainty and desires to know everything in advance. But, my child, if everything were obvious, there would be no room for faith. True faith is revealed when you move forward without depending on sight. Think of Israel at the Red Sea. They saw only the waters ahead and the army behind. But when I spoke through Moses, the sea parted. Had they waited until the ground was dry before stepping forward, they would have missed the miracle. Trust requires that you step into the waters before the dry land appears. My child, complete trust also means surrendering the control of timing into my hands. Many times you may feel I am late, but I always arrive at the perfect moment. My timing never strays from the good plan I have ordained. As it is written in Ecclesiastes 3:1, He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Remember that what I am doing is not only about you, but also involves many others and countless details. Everything is orchestrated by my hand to bring forth the best outcome for my kingdom and for your soul. Complete trust also helps you rest instead of worrying. When you truly believe that I am in control of everything, you will no longer need to strain yourself to keep everything within your grasp. You will learn to breathe out in peace and release the burdens you were never created to carry. I have declared in Psalm 4:6-10, Be still and know that I am God. This stillness is not passive, but the posture of a heart that knows the Almighty is at work. Do not forget, trust is also the key to facing closed doors. There will be times when you hear me say no or not yet to what you ask for. In those moments, you may feel let down or disappointed. But my child, remember that I never deny you in order to harm you. Each time I close a door, it is because what lies behind it is not good for you, or because the time has not yet come for you to receive it. Trust enables you to stop striving to break down the door, and instead wait for me to open another way, one that is better and safer. My beloved, one of the greatest tests of trust is when you must release something precious. It may be a relationship, an opportunity, or a dream you have nurtured for a long time. Yet if I call you to lay it down, it is because I have something greater, or because I know it is keeping you from drawing closer to me. Like Abraham when I tested him with Isaac, he believed that I had the power to raise the dead, and so he did not hesitate to obey. Do you see? True trust will lead you to place me above everything, even the things most dear to you. You must also understand that trust is a decision repeated each day. It is not a passing feeling, but a deliberate choice to place your heart in my hands. Every morning, you can begin with a prayer, Lord. Today I choose to trust you, regardless of what I see, hear, or feel. As you practice this consistently, the trust will become a natural response instead of a struggle each time you face challenges. I also want you to know that trust does not exclude action. Trust does not mean sitting still and waiting for everything to happen. It means walking in what I have already revealed. Even when you cannot see the whole picture, it is moving forward step by step, allowing me to guide you to the next step as you reach it. like a lamp that lights only a portion of the path at night. I will shine enough light for you to take the next step. And as you move forward, the light will continue to lead the way. Complete trust will transform the way you see every situation. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" you will begin to ask, "What do you want to teach me through this?" Instead of fearing the future, you will look forward to seeing me work. Instead of worrying about what you cannot control, you will focus on what I am calling you to do today. This very attitude will set you free, because you will no longer be bound by the pressure to control everything. My child, I encourage you to let trust become the foundation of your whole life. Let it flow into every decision, every relationship, every dream. Remember that I never fail, and those who put their trust in me will never be put to shame. Step into each day with the assurance that I am holding you, guiding you, and preparing the best for you. As you live in that trust, you will experience a life filled with peace, hope, and the strength to overcome whatever lies ahead. My beloved, the complete trust I am calling you to embrace is not merely a principle to apply, but a way of life. When trust has been deeply rooted in your soul, it will shape how you speak, how you think, and how you respond to every circumstance. You will no longer be easily shaken by bad news or thrown into panic when plans change, for your heart will be anchored in the one who never changes. One of the clearest signs of a person who truly trusts me is a heart of gratitude, even in the midst of trials. When you believe that I am working for your good, you will thank me even before you see the outcome. Your mind will shift from asking why to declaring, "Lord, I trust that you know better than I do." This was the attitude of Paul when he was in chains, yet continued to write letters of encouragement to the churches, because he knew that even his imprisonment could be used by God to spread the gospel. My child, the complete trust is also revealed in your ability to let go of comparison. When you look at others and see them receiving what you have longed for, it is easy to fall into feelings of lack or dissatisfaction. But when you trust me, you will know that I have a unique timing and portion for each person. You will stop comparing and begin to focus on what I am doing in your own life. As it is written in Psalm 37:3-4, "Trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." True trust will also guard you against the temptation of impatience. Many have forfeited my promise because they could not wait. They tried to act on their own in order to help fulfill my plan, only to complicate matters further. Remember the story of Saul, who impatiently offered the sacrifice in place of Samuel because he feared his soldiers would scatter. That act of impatience cost him his kingdom. By contrast, David, though given several chances to kill Saul and claim the throne, chose to wait for my timing. Because of that, I lifted him up in honor. My child, trusting also means believing that I have the power to turn what the enemy intended for harm into something good. Joseph is the perfect example of this truth. Sold by his brothers, falsely accused, and cast into prison, he was eventually elevated to the highest position under Pharaoh, saving countless lives during the famine. When he met his brothers again, he said, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." Trust kept Joseph from bitterness and made him ready to forgive. One important thing I want you to understand is that trust will never leave you disappointed. Though it will be tested, there will be times when you must stand alone in your decision to believe me. Others may not understand. Some may even mock you. But in those moments, the roots of trust grow deeper. You will learn that it is not the approval of others that confirms you are on the right path, but my voice alone. Complete trust will also free you from unnecessary burdens. When you try to control everything, your soul is weighed down by tension and anxiety. But when you trust me, you learn to release your grip, knowing that you are in the hands of the one who has a perfect plan. This is not resignation, but surrender in peace. I want you to live with this posture daily, so that your strength is preserved for the assignments I give you, rather than being drained by worry. Remember, trust is the foundation of every close relationship between you and me. It is no different. The more you trust, the more your heart opens. The more your heart opens, the more you can receive from me. I am not seeking a faith that appears only when you need something, but a steady faith that endures both on the mountaintops and in the valleys. When trust becomes your very breath, you will begin to notice things you never saw before. You will see my hand in the smallest details, a timely meeting, an unexpected open door, or a gentle reminder at just the right moment. You will realize that nothing is random in the life of one who walks with me. Everything falls under my loving arrangement. My child, I call you to strengthen your faith through complete trust. Let it be your first response, not your last resort. When you hear bad news, let your reflex be, I know God is in control. When your plans change, let your first words be, I believe you have something better. And when you enter a new season, begin with this prayer, Lord, I place everything in your hands. For those who trust in me will be like Mount Zion, unshakable, enduring forever. My beloved child, I remind you again, if trust means believing in my heart and my good intentions, then surrender is the act of giving me the right to decide all things, even those you do not understand and those you are not yet ready to let go of. Trust is the beginning, but surrender is the next step that leads you into true freedom. My child, surrender is not a sign of weakness, but a testimony of spiritual strength. The world teaches that strength is when you control everything. But I tell you that true strength comes from letting me take control. When you hold on to authority yourself, you will always have to carry burdens and responsibilities beyond your ability. But when you hand authority over to me, you will see that I bear for you what you cannot. Remember that in Matthew 1:8-30, I invited, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Complete surrender begins with the acceptance that I know what is best for you. This may sound simple, yet in reality, it is one of the greatest battles of the soul. You must choose to believe that even when I lead you along a narrow, steep, and challenging path, it will ultimately take you to a place far better than any shortcut you might choose for yourself. Surrender means you no longer ask, what do I want? But instead, what does the Lord want, my child? There are things I ask you to let go of, not because they are evil, but because they do not belong to the new season you are entering. Just as a soldier must lay aside heavy baggage before going to battle, you too must release what is unnecessary so that you can move quickly and freely. Sometimes that may be a relationship, habit, or a personal ambition. If you cling to them, they will weigh you down and divert you from the direction I have set. Surrender also requires you to trust my timing. There are times I will close a door you think is your only chance, only to open a better one. Without surrender, you would cling to it at all costs and unknowingly confine yourself to a narrow space. But when you surrender, you will see that I can do immeasurably more than all you ask or imagine. As promised in Ephesians 3:2-0, my child, surrender does not remove fear entirely, but it strips fear of its power to control you. When you surrender, you hand over your worries, insecurities, and lack of control to me. This does not mean you will stop feeling emotions, but it means you will no longer let emotions dictate your direction. I will teach you to walk by revelation instead of fleeting feelings. I also want you to know that surrender opens spiritual doors no human effort could unlock. When you strive in your own strength, you reach only the limit of your capacity. But when you surrender, I bring you into the limit of my capacity, and that has no end. I will soften the hearts that need softening, change circumstances that seem unchangeable, and create opportunities no one could foresee. Complete surrender will also transform the way you pray. Instead of asking according to your own will, you will begin to pray for my will to be done. Your prayers will shift from being a list of requests to becoming a conversation that seeks my heart. You will realize that the greatest gift you can receive through prayer is not an answer, but my presence and guidance. My child, when you surrender, you step into a spiritual refuge where the enemy cannot easily touch you. It does not mean you are exempt from trials, but every trial must first pass through my hands before reaching you. Everything I allow has a purpose and a clear limit. Surrender will keep you from panic when challenges come, because you know you are exactly where I want you to be. I call you to embrace surrender as a way of life, not a temporary act. Surrender every day, every hour, every decision. Let it become such a habit that when I speak, you respond immediately without hesitation. Remember, I never take away anything unless I have something better to give. And the best gift I always long to give is myself, the source of all life, peace, and eternal joy. My beloved child, when you choose to walk in full surrender, I want you to understand that it is not something that happens only in grand moments, but a continuous process that unfolds day by day, hour by hour, decision by decision. Many believe surrender happens once, like when they kneel and pray, saying, "Lord, I give you everything." But the truth is, after that prayer, you will have to practice surrender in countless small situations, often unseen by others, yet they are the very places where your heart is trained and refined. My child, true surrender is revealed most clearly when you face something that contradicts your own desires. If I lead you down a path different from the plan you carefully prepared, how will you respond? If I ask you to delay what you believe you are already ready for, will you be willing to wait? This is where surrender is tested. It is easy for anyone to say amen when I act according to what they want, but only those who truly yield can say, "Let your will be done," even when everything goes against their expectations. My child, surrender also requires you to let go of the need to understand everything before obeying. Your mind may want to reason through every detail, to know the final outcome, to calculate the risks. Yet many times I deliberately keep certain details hidden to protect you from doubt or fear too soon. If Abraham had known in advance how difficult the journey to the promised land would be, He might have hesitated, but because he obeyed without needing to know the whole path, he experienced my power and faithfulness step by step. Surrender also means you accept that I have the authority to intervene at any time and change your direction. Even when you are in a favorable season, I may call you to leave it in order to step into something new. If you truly surrender, you will not cling to the past, no matter how pleasant it was, because you trust that the future I hold in my hands is far better. Just as the Israelites left Egypt familiar though oppressive to journey toward the promised land, so must you be willing to move forward. My child, one of the greatest obstacles to surrender is the fear of loss. You are afraid that if you hand something over to me, you will lose what is precious. But remember, I am the creator and giver of all good things. If I take something away, it is only because I am preparing to replace it with something better. Look at Job. He lost everything. Yet when he remained steadfast in faith and surrendered, I restored to him twice as much as he had before. True surrender also sets you free from the burden of comparison. When you know that I have a unique plan for your life, you will stop measuring your journey against that of others. You will no longer be troubled if someone seems to advance more quickly or receive more than you. Instead, you will focus on walking in step with me, trusting that your timing and your reward will come at the appointed moment. My child, another mark of surrender is when you allow me to purify your motives. You may begin a work or ministry with good intentions, but over time, personal ambition or the desire for recognition may creep in. When you yield to me, you allow me to search your heart and remove what is impure. Though this process may be painful, it will enable you to walk in greater integrity and spiritual strength. Complete surrender also opens the way for you to experience peace that surpasses all understanding. When you no longer need to control everything, you will feel a deep relief. I will fight the battles for you that you could never win in your own strength. As I declared in Exodus 14:14, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. My child, understand that surrender does not strip you of honor. On the contrary, it positions you for exaltation. When you lay down your right to self-rule, you entrust me with the authority to arrange your steps, and I will establish them in ways no one can deny. I myself will bear witness for you through doors that open, through favor that cannot be explained by human reasoning, and through protection beyond your reach. I want you to know that surrender is the foundation that allows you to step into the things I have promised. Not every promise requires your effort to bring it to pass, but every promise does require your faith and surrender. Just as Mary, when she heard the angel announce that she would bear the Savior, simply replied, "I am the Lord's servant. May it be to me as you have said." That is the heart I long to see in you, a heart that is ready to say, "Let it be" in every circumstance. My beloved child, I want you to understand that surrender is not only a spiritual action but also a posture of the heart. When you are in this position, you create space for me to act without being hindered by your fears, your desire for control, or your calculations. Like an empty vessel ready to be filled, a surrendered heart is the place where I can bless, guide, and move freely without encountering resistance from you. My child, surrender is something the enemy despises because it takes away his opportunity to manipulate you through negative emotions. When you have not surrendered, he only needs to stir up worry, pride, or selfish ambition to push you off my path. But when you surrender, he loses that power, because you no longer live by your feelings or your own will. Instead, you live by my word and the leading of the Holy Spirit. Surrender will also transform the way you view trials. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you will begin to ask, "Lord, what are you trying to teach me through this situation?" Trials will no longer be evidence of abandonment, but opportunities to experience my faithfulness and power. When Paul wrote in Romans 8:28 that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, he was not only speaking of the good and pleasant things, but also of the pain and losses that I used to shape you. My dear child, surrender does not mean sitting still and doing nothing. It means acting in obedience rather than an impulse. You still do your part, but you do not run ahead of me, nor rush out of fear of missing opportunities, nor delay out of fear of failure. You move in step with me, neither faster nor slower. This is one of the clearest marks of mature surrender. I also want you to know that surrender releases you from the pressure of having to produce results. You can plant, water, and care, but it is I who make the seed grow. When you try to control outcomes, you are prone to worry and disappointment. But when you surrender, you entrust the results to me and focus instead on faithfulness in each step. My child, surrender will also lead you into deep humility. When you realize that you cannot and need not control everything, you will become less judgmental toward others and less harsh toward yourself. You will learn to place both people and situations into my hands, rather than striving to reshape them according to your desires. This will bring you a sense of relief and a spiritual freedom you have never experienced before. Surrender is not only for the great decisions, but also for the small matters of daily life. You can ask me before replying to a message, before accepting an invitation, or before speaking words that could wound. You will find that when you let me into the little things, you will have fewer regrets later on. And it is precisely in those small matters that I will train your heart to be ready for greater responsibilities. My child, remember that surrender will be tested again and again throughout your life. Today you may find it easy to say, "Let your will be done" in one area. But tomorrow I may touch another area you are still holding tightly. Surrender is a continual journey of expanding the territory you yield to me until nothing remains outside my lordship in your life. Surrender is also the key that ushers you into complete joy. When you no longer strain to keep everything under control, you will be free to enjoy each moment I give. You will be less haunted by the future and less bound by the past. You will live in the present, resting in the peace that I reign, and that all things are unfolding according to my perfect plan. My dear child, I call you not to see surrender as an optional choice, but as a vital principle of life. Let each morning begin with a prayer, Lord. Today I entrust everything into your hands. Lead me according to your will. When you practice this daily, you will find that your life is no longer governed by worry or disappointment, but marked by peace, strength, and joy that flow from living fully in my will. Beloved one, now that you have come to understand obedience, trust, and complete surrender, I want to lead you into a new dimension, steadfastness in the midst of all change. Many begin strong, but gradually weaken when the path grows difficult. They allow emotions, circumstances, or the words of others to shake them. But I am calling you to become one who does not waver, one who can stand firm to the very end, no matter how fierce the storm may be. Child, steadfastness does not come from human willpower, but from building your foundation upon my word. When you construct the house of your life upon the rock of my word, the rains may fall, the winds may blow, and the floods may rise, yet you will not be shaken. But if you build upon the sand of fleeting feelings, temporary successes, or human opinions, all will collapse when trials come. I do not promise that you will escape the storms, but I promise that I will be your unshakable refuge. My child, steadfastness is also nurtured by remembering what I have done for you in the past. When you recall the times I rescued, provided, and preserved you, you will find the strength to keep moving forward. That is why I instructed Israel to set up memorial stones whenever I performed great miracles, so they would not forget, and so future generations would be encouraged. In the same way, you must build spiritual memorials in your heart. Remember, recount, and give thanks, so that your faith may be strengthened. Steadfastness also requires that you guard your mind each day. The enemy will sow seeds of doubt, fear, or comparison. If you allow these seeds to take root, they will choke your faith. Learn to capture every thought that is not of me and bring it into obedience to Christ. Let my word be the sharp sword that cuts down every lie, and fill your mind with whatever is true, honorable, just, pure, and praiseworthy. Child, steadfastness is not rigidity. It is not clinging stubbornly to your own plans even when I lead you in another direction. True steadfastness is holding firmly to me, not to your own desires. It allows you to be flexible in method, yet unchanging in your ultimate goal, to live in my will. It enables you to walk through both seasons of ease and seasons of hardship with unwavering faithfulness. My beloved, know that the enemy will try to break your steadfastness with sudden attacks. He will not strike only once, but many times, hoping that you will grow weary and give up. But if you are aware of this beforehand, you will neither be surprised nor afraid. You will prepare your spirit like a soldier who always wears armor, ready for battle at any moment. Remember, your strength does not lie in never being attacked, but in still standing after every assault. Steadfastness is also sustained through the fellowship of the spiritual community. You were never designed to fight alone. Even Moses, when his hands grew weary, needed Aaron and Hur to hold them up so that the people could prevail. Likewise, you need companions in faith, those who will pray with you, remind you of my promises, and lift you up when your heart grows faint. Do not withdraw from community, thinking you can stand alone. Child, understand that steadfastness is not measured by how fast you run, but by whether you refuse to give up. There will be times when you must slow down, rest, or adjust your strategy. But what matters most is that you keep moving forward. Sometimes, simply holding your ground is already a victory. I look at your heart and your faithfulness more than at your speed or outward achievements. Perseverance will allow you to experience a kind of reward that those who give up will never see. Many of my promises are only open to those who stand firm until the very end. As it is written in James 1:1-2, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. That crown is not only a reward for the life to come, but also the fullness of life, peace, and power available to you even while you are still on this earth. I want you to ask yourself, what is shaking my perseverance? Is it slander, prolonged disappointment, or closed doors, whatever it may be. Lay it at my feet and allow me to replace wavering with renewed determination. Let me fill you with strength so you can declare, like Paul, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. In that moment, you will not only begin strong, but also finish strong, which is what I desire for all my children. My beloved, many start with a burning heart. Yet, as time passes, that fire grows dim, overshadowed by worries, pressures, or subtle temptations. I do not want your fire to blaze for only a season and then die out, but to burn brightly until the day you meet me face to face. Child, the flame of the Spirit does not survive on its own without care. Just as the fire on the altar of Israel long ago had to be tended daily so it would not go out, so too must your spiritual fire be maintained. They had to add wood, clear the ashes, and keep the fire burning. In the same way, you must nurture your spiritual life through regular communion with me, reading my word, praying, and worshiping. These practices are not dry obligations, but the very breath that sustains the flame of your faith. Know this, beloved, there are many enemies of your spiritual fire. One of them is compromise. Even a small compromise can weaken the flame, causing you to lose your spiritual sharpness. Just like a cracked wall that allows the enemy to slip through, compromise creates an opening for darkness. This is why I call you to live watchfully, guarding your heart against influences that reduce the heat of your faith. Another enemy is spiritual fatigue. When you continually pour yourself out without resting in me, you will eventually be drained of strength and lose your zeal. I did not create you to run endlessly without pause, but to find times of rest where you are renewed in my presence. Remember that even my son sought quiet places to pray, away from the crowds, to be refreshed. Child, your spiritual fire is also threatened by distraction. The world is filled with noise, information, images, and activities that consume your time and mind. If you do not intentionally limit and discern, the flame will gradually fade without you realizing it. Therefore, create space and time for me to speak to you, a place untouched by noise. Understand that when you keep the fire burning, it not only brings light to your own path, but also warms and guides others. Your light can encourage those in despair, lead the lost, and bear witness to those who do not yet know me. But if the fire goes out, darkness gains the advantage. Therefore, keeping the flame alive is not just for you, but also for the souls around you. Your spiritual fire will also remain strong when you frequently recall and meditate on my promises. When discouragement comes, open my word and read aloud the promises engraved in Scripture. Let those promises nourish your hope and rekindle your zeal. As Paul exhorted Timothy, fan into flame the gift of God which is in you. My child, to keep the flame alive, you must also walk in immediate obedience. Each time you delay or ignore the prompting of the Spirit, the fire weakens a little. On the other hand, every time you respond promptly, the flame bursts forth stronger. Do not underestimate the small acts of obedience, for together they build a life full of power and influence. My beloved child, there will be times when you must guard the flame within you against opposing winds. These may come in the form of criticism, unexpected failures, or circumstances that cause you to question your calling. In those moments, you must shield the flame with the armor of faith. refusing to let the enemy extinguish it. Remember, I have given you my Spirit to dwell with you, to strengthen you, and to keep the fire burning brightly. My dear one, sustaining the flame of the Spirit is a lifelong journey. It requires perseverance, alertness, and a heart that constantly longs for my presence. Never assume that you are close enough to me to neglect tending the flame. Intimacy with me is not a one-time destination, but a living relationship that must be nourished daily. As you nurtureet, you will not only finish your own race well, but also pass the flame to the next generation, ensuring that my light never ceases to shine upon the earth. Many have faith and zeal but fail to step fully into my plans because they remain trapped in cycles of fear, delay, or poor choices. I do not desire for you to end your journey in regret. My will is that you complete your calling with honor and glory. My child, the purpose I have prepared for you is neither vague nor general. I have placed within you unique abilities, gifts, and passions that equip you for a role no one else can fulfill. Just as each member of the body has its distinct function, you also have an irreplaceable position in my kingdom. When you discover and walk in that purpose, you will experience a fullness that nothing in this world can compare to. To step into your purpose, you must release what no longer belongs to the new season. Many never see the fullness of my plan because they cling to burdens, relationships, or habits from the past. Just as Israel could not enter the promised land while holding on to the mindset of slavery, you too must allow me to renew your mind and set you free from every chain of yesterday. My beloved, living out your purpose is not merely about doing what seems great in the eyes of others, but about being faithful with what I entrust to you, to me. Faithfulness in the small is just as precious as obedience in the large. When you faithfully care for a single soul, pray for someone, or carry out an ordinary task with a heart turned toward me, you are walking in your purpose. My child, to fulfill your calling, you must also learn to distinguish between what is good and what is truly from me. Not every opportunity comes from my hand. Some things may look desirable but are not aligned with my timing or intent for you. If you chase after every open door, you will become scattered and weary. But when you walk only through the doors I confirm, you will be led in the right direction, surrounded by my strength and protection. Always remember, your purpose is never centered on yourself alone. It is bound to the impact you bring into the lives of others. I have called you to be the light of the world, the salt of the earth, and the bearer of good news. Whether through your words, your actions, or even your very presence, each day you can sow seeds of life into someone's heart. Never underestimate the power of a simple encouragement, a loving deed, or a sincere prayer. My child, completing your calling also requires patience. Some promises I give take time to be fulfilled. There are seasons that seem silent, yet in truth, they are times of preparation for greater things ahead. Do not let delays breed doubt in your heart. Remember, I am the Lord of time, and I am never late. My beloved, there will be moments when you find yourself standing at a crossroads, unsure which path to take. In those times, do not lean solely on your reasoning, but seek confirmation from me. I will guide you through the peace in your heart, through my word, and through the counsel of mature spiritual voices. As long as you keep your eyes fixed on me, you will never lose your way. My beloved child, When you live out your purpose to the fullest, you will become a living testimony to the world that I am faithful. Your life will be a song of praise to me, and every step you take will leave a spiritual imprint far beyond what this life can ever measure. As I bring this message to a close today, I do not only give you peace, but I also entrust you with a clear mission: live fully, shine brightly, and remain steadfast until the end. Let every day of your life be a step closer to your divine purpose, so that when the race is finished, you will have no regrets, for you will have lived exactly as I intended when I created you. Thank you for listening to today's message. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we may continue receiving the words of life together, building an unshakable faith and walking in the boundless love of the Lord. Amen.